All right, Corrine, let's take a look real quick. So I think we're missing some of the important things that we need to look at when we have this. Let me do this. There we go. So if we look at this leg here, right? We have this, we have this, we have this, right? So we have the little paw here. I'm going to now grab this and bring it, whoops. I'm going to grab this thing and bring it over to, or make a real good attempt at bringing this over. There we go. Right, so when we look at your leg compared to that leg, not quite what we're looking for, right? Look at the shape. And same thing with this front paw here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw over that one. All right. So when we have this paw here, I'm just going to bring this guy over here, and I'm going to rotate him a bit. Whoops, I did that wrong. Let's see. There we go. And again, I'll scale this guy down too, because that's really what we're looking at for the legs, right? Maybe needs to be a little bit bigger. So there are the legs. And if we look at yours, like there's a huge, like, and I'm just going to change, let's make this a little bit different color just so we can see it better. Like this here, this curve, I mean, there's no curve in there. Like there's no bone structure. It's just like this, it's really just this weird curve, right? There's no bone in there. And if we look here, right, there's a bone, there's a joint, there's a bone, and there's a joint, there's a bone, there's a joint. Then you have your feet. Same thing here. There's a bone, there's a joint. Right, so you can start seeing how that structure works. And again, these are just too curvy. Like we really got to start getting like, yes, there is a curve here, right? I can see that, but the bone is still coming down like this, right? Then all the muscle comes in on it, right? The bone comes down here. You can literally see where the bone is, right? They're coming down here, and that's how it comes down in there. So I really want you to think about the structure of your legs and how they're working and how they're not working. So I'm going to turn these off. And when we look at, again, let me grab this guy here, because I think this guy needs a lot of work structurally. And when we look at these legs, they're not really giving me structure, right? So the leg has to have that muscle in it. This is looking at it from behind, right? How this can kind of come down here, how it kind of tapers out and tapers back in where the bone is. All right, and this is the back of the leg. So this would be behind the elbow part, right? So that's what I'm looking at is this. You need to have that tapering, how the muscle bellies come in. They go that way, they taper down this way. But that's what I want you to start looking at is the overall shape. Like if we look at this in here, let me change the color, it's a little hard to see. So if we look at right in here, like and right in here, there's no real muscle structure going on, right? If we look into this part here, there's like these huge holes in here. We got to really fill that out. Like there should be muscle in there. If we start looking at the curvature, right? And how this can kind of come over like this. I'm just kind of building up a little bit of structure so you can see what I'm talking about. It's not topology per se, right? It's not. It's just thinking of volumes. That's the kind of volumes that this guy needs. So structurally, we got to think about like, yep, there is a chest cavity in here, right? Ribs coming down. It's going to come into like this. Then you have the pelvis in here. Then you're going to put those legs in that we had earlier, right? So how they come down. So we really got to think about how that structure and anatomy is working because it really isn't doing much right now. And again, I know there's an ant face, but there's not much again, like we said last class, I'm not really sure what's happening here. It's just lumpy and it's a primary shape right now. Maybe you're not working on that yet, but that's something to think about. I would also think about how these horns on the back are actually going into the skin. They can't just intersect. The skin has to go around it, be part of it, but needs more information. I mean, they're petals. That's right, they're petals. So just how they interact with the skin, you have to be thinking about that kind of stuff. Hopefully this helps out a little bit more. All right, now I just want to go over a little bit of stuff here with you. Let's take a look at, let me add a layer here. All right, so if we look under here, hey, there we go. If we look under here, there is a lot of geometry that can be triangulated down, right? So, whoops, dang it. So this here, you could probably start bringing together to have some triangles in here, right? Because it's just way too much geo in here, and it's going to go all the way under the arm, and it's just excessive, so you don't really need that. Oops. I would say in here is don't do a huge pull there. These should come across like this. right? And then you'll have some that'll coming down like this. That's going to be way cleaner. Try to avoid these big poles in here with like, I don't know, 50 different edges going in there. Cleaner to have them come across like this and then come down. Have that little bit of a grid. So what'll happen is they'll just continue like this, and you'll get edge loops going all the way around that come around like that. So if I was to do this in, excuse me, if I was to do this, it would look like, I'm going to put a ring around it, right? So it would come across. I use a different color. So it would go like this. It would come across and go all the way around like this. Those loops should be doing this. Again, this is just, I'm popping it over so you can see how those loops should go, right? So they come all the way around there, and then, like I said, these will just go straight down into these, right? That's how that should match up. So having said that, the eye looks good, but some areas here should be a little bit changed, and I'll show you what I mean. So when we start to build here, you should build around, and this goes for anyone that's doing this kind of stuff, you should build around like this, right? That's a bad one. Let me start over. Let's do it by polygon, right? So this is how it should be built around this thing, right? You should be building a loop around the nostril, just like we did with the dog. And then when you start getting up here, right? These are huge, right? These are big areas that shouldn't be covered. And if we look at what we have, it's just going over them. Should definitely not be doing that. So it should actually have geometry that builds around it, right? That comes up like this and builds over it and then comes back down, right? It should have geometry over it. These are big things, so they should have their own piece of geometry that go around. All right, and then you can build to that, right? So you can start seeing how that would work out. Then it can go into your, right? So you can see where that shape's going. Same with these, right? You want to be building like that. So you're kind of building a, right, around these little pods. That kind of stuff. That's what these guys should be doing. So yeah, build around them. It needs structure. Right now it's just a little too flat, right? Just flat, and it should be around that nose. Nostril. Yep. So, and again, this stuff could probably be triangulated down just a little bit. Definitely a lot here. There's a really excess amount that you have there. So that's the feedback I got for you.